Before you proceed, let me ask this one. General, at that page 31, paragraph 2.1, in the third line, in fact, this is where the chairperson indicates the history of this team after the president visited the province. And then in the third line, it says to urgently attend and solve all high-profile cases and the ongoing political killings. Where it refers to all high-profile cases, what was contemplated there? That's at page 31.
Thank you, Commissioners. According to our interpretation, the high-profile cases will refer to, because the criteria of allocating a political-related case will have a list of categories, with the last category being a political activist, a member of the political party. And then the high profiles, according to us, are those political figures that are office bearers and those that are also serving in local government, especially. That was our understanding of high profile.
Thank you, Commissioners. So just after 2.1 is 2.2, and it's the briefing by the National Commissioner, the first one which we just dealt with, about the approach of the task team. And then if you turn over the page, there is a presentation that is made by the Acting Provincial Commissioner. And it begins with the introduction. And then the first heading is operational coordination, and it speaks about the joint operational centers. Is it correct to say that the description here under this heading is what you've presented to the Commission when you testified when you were here before?
Commissioners, can I be reminded on the CJC number?
It's page 31, and it's CJC. I've forgotten. 12. Page 31.
Yes.
Okay, so the 31 was where we had ended off. And then, sorry, 32 is now the presentation by the Acting Provincial Commissioner. The second heading is operational coordination. And I just wanted to confirm with you whether what is presented here is the same as what you presented to the Commission when you testified earlier.
That is correct, Commissioners. I can confirm these were accountability levels and structures that were set up and were then part of the briefing of the IMC, starting with the tactical joint operational centers that I referred to as 4 of them that were established, that were meeting and accounting on daily basis to the mission area, right up to the National Steering Committee.
Thank you. That then is described fully, and then the next thing I'd like you to turn to is page 34, where the Acting Provincial Commissioner at the time described the composition of the team. Is this now in terms of the revised structure?
Yes, Commissioners, that was in terms of the revised structure and the command and control as was presented previously, looking at the mission area joint operational center, the first box on the left, the task team leader referred to as Major General Ramatswele, as we have presented before, and the project manager referred to as the then Brigadier Khumalo, which is myself, and then other tactical commanders for different disciplines, and those four operational teams below that were implemented.
Thanks. And then page 36, which deals with the table of case dockets. Is this presentation an analysis of the dockets that were within the control of the task team at the time?
That is correct, Commissioners. At the initial stages of the task team, we had to indicate the cases that were presented during the previous IMC. We can show the additional cases in that page or slide. We are reflecting that on the previous report, the cases allocated to the team were 98. But then during this meeting, there were now 126.
Thank you. And then if we go to the end of these minutes, it's page 41. Item 2.4, the resolutions. Just before we go to the resolutions, is there anything more to be said about the discussion? Were there any, was the approach, let me put it this way, was the approach that was being presented by the acting provisional commissioner supported by the members of the IMC?
Yeah, maybe one can sum up the response to that answer by referring to page 40 under the comments by the chairperson. The last bullet from the second bullet from last, which reads, the minister praised the task team and encouraged them to put more effort so that a message is sent that there are consequences for breaking the law. So those were sentiments that were shared by the IMC during this initial meeting of the new team that was put in place.
Thank you. And then finally, the resolutions. The first bullet point is for the task team to provide a progress report. Did the task team do so on that 126 cases?
Yes, those are 126 cases that were reflected during this meeting. So the resolution was on the next meeting, the team is expected then to give a progress report on each and every one of those cases. Also, 81 of them that were still under investigation.
So there was a continuing report on these cases to the IMC, is that right?
That is correct, Commissioners. That was the structure of all our accounting sessions. There will be a report on whatever that was reported during the previous meeting to show the progress.
Now, can you read the third bullet, please?
The third bullet under resolutions.
Under resolutions.
The task team in the next meeting will provide progress report on the progress made on the following priority cases: Mr. Mchunu, the killing of Mr. Mchunu, Mr. Stole, and Mr. spelling mistake, Makak.
Why were these cases singled out?
As per my response to the question by Commissioner Baloyi, that the cases will be rated as high profile, depending then on the deceased. So these three, the first one is the one that was a reason for the establishment of the task team. This crime scene that was visited by the president, that is Mr. Kashana Mchunu, and Mr. Sitole was also another high-profile politician, as well as Mr. Makaka, who was the former ANC Youth League secretary.
Thank you. The next set of minutes, if we can go there, then is on page 42. That's CJC 13. And that's dated 13 September 2018. And were you present at this meeting, General Khumalo?
Yes, I was present, Commissioners.
And again, was it chaired by former Minister of Police, Cele?
That is correct.
And as similar with the structure of the previous minutes, we see on page 44, items 2.2 and 2.3, where the National Commissioner opens a briefing and then hands over to the acting Provincial Commissioner. Is this where the Provincial Commissioner then did the progress report on the cases as required in the previous minutes?
That is correct, Commissioners. As I explained on the coordination slide, that the meeting will take this format. What will happen in preparation for the IMC? We, at the level of PKTT, we will prepare the report and present it to the provincial steering committee chaired by Lieutenant General Kwanas. And then as the National Steering Committee comes in a day before IMC, led by the National Commission, then the Provincial Steering Committee will then brief them. And then on the day of the IMC, it will take that order. The National Commissioner will introduce the briefing note, and then the General Kwanaze will then present as briefed by the political killing task team at operational level. It was later on when then I joined the elite level, when then it was myself now who was briefing the IMC, not the Provincial Commission. By that time, I was still a brigadier. And brief but then after I became a Major General, that's when then they allocated the responsibility to me to brief all the levels, the National Steering Committee as well as the IMC.
So this briefing is extremely detailed, and it goes all the way to page 56, in fact. And we don't need to go through the details, but I just want to confirm that this was a presentation that was made by the Provincial Commissioner with your assistance.
That is correct, Commissioners.
So if we turn to page 55 of the bundle, in the middle of the page, it says the need of fast-tracking ballistic and biology analysis. That paragraph, and then the following bullet points, Is it correct to say that at this point in time, so this meeting is now, September 2018, is this when the need was identified for expert analysts to be included in the team?
That is very correct, Commissioners. From our initial plan, we had planned the task team to have these expertise. But because it was a new thing in the SAPS, it took time for us to convince the commanders of those respective environments to allocate dedicated. Initially, as the KZN team was, and even now, the task team in the SAPS is established and formed by looking at what needs to be done. If it's an investigative task team, only detectives will be assigned to the team. So we were implementing our plan step by step by first indicating the challenge that we have, and then we'll put a request that if we can have this dedicated capacity. I have an example that I can cite on call data analyst, because we were utilizing DPCI call data analysts that are in Pretoria and we are in KZN. They did come and we celebrated that at last we have. Then they said, no, we are here to pick up the discs and go back to Pretoria. They disappeared with those discs up to date. So it was not working for us to have analysts or experts that are not part of the team. So with these recommendations, we were trying to implement to influence that our plan is properly implemented, including the ballistic experts. All these experts were not yet part of the team. But I think from 2020 onwards, that's when then we had the full capacity.
Thanks. And so that meeting followed, so it was a detailed report, and it concluded with resolutions, and that's on page 57. And again, as per the previous minutes, the request was for continuing reports on the progress of cases.
Yes, that is correct.
And for a specific report on the high-profile cases as well.
Yes.
Sorry. General, in that page 57 under resolutions, can you just explain that first bullet point, which requires a progress report on 22 case dockets not related to the task team mandate? Why that was being included for discussion in the work of the task team?
Thank you, Commissioners. Initially, the use of parallel investigation was an internal exercise. We were doing it to assist our investigation. But then the time came when, because if we have a main case that is linking ballistically with another case that is not politically related, we were only reporting on the politically related main case. So the resolution was, let us also report on those parallel ones because they talk to the performance of the task team.
It was a performance issue, really.
It was a performance issue, yes.
Was any question raised at any point by the IMC about the fact that these parallel dockets were included in the work of the PKTT?
They were mainly comments that were coming from, because our report was structured such that we all the activities of the team. So when we get to the ballistic analysis, that's where we will show the linkages that the firearms that we have confiscated, they were linked with other cases that we had then requested from the stations to investigate them parallel to the main case. Now, because now our statistics were not tallying at all the segments of the report, that's when then it was a resolution that as we report, if we check our reports moving forward, even the report that we presented as part of the testimony in the commission, it has those categories: political related cases, parallel cases, and ad hoc cases. Initially, before these resolutions, we were only reporting on main or political related cases only.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. So let's move on then to March 2019, 28 March 2019. That's CJC 14. And that's the minutes of the next meeting of the IMC. Were you present at this meeting?
Yes, that's correct.
And again, it's a very lengthy briefing, am I correct, that was provided by the acting PC?
Yes, Commissioners.
And the update, which is very detailed, is an update on all of the cases under investigation and in court.
That is correct, Commissioners. Maybe then to draw the attention of the Commissioners on page 64, where we were complying with the recommendation of the previous meeting, where we started then reflecting on parallel case dockets that were not part of the previous reports.
And on page 65, you report on ad hoc cases.
Yes, as I explained, Commissioners.
And those related to the unlicensed firearms.
Yes.
And that meeting...
Sorry, can I just ask? Mm-hmm. Is it then correct, would it be correct then to characterize the position this way, that although the team was set up and its mandate is to investigate political killings, these parallel and ad hoc investigations means that at least operationally, the mandate sort of expanded, because with the parallel cases, you're not necessarily looking at political related matters. I think somewhere earlier on, there was a report, for example, of a reckless driving case, and there are robberies here. So in practice, the mandate sort of expanded. Would that be a fair and accurate characterization, General?
That will be very correct, Commissioners, because it was an operational decision not needing the extension of the mandate. I'm trying to separate the two, because we are investigating political related cases, and then there is a case that is linked with the other case that is not political related. Maybe it's because it's the same suspects, maybe it's because it's the same firearm used. Now, for us to strengthen our main case, there is a lot of evidence that we can get from this other case, and then we will then investigate it parallel to this other case. Same applies to the firearm-related cases, because we will have operations where we are looking for specific firearms. Now, when we register a possession of unlicensed firearm for that particular firearm, that case will be investigated by the team because it is linked sometimes with a parallel docket that is linked with the main political related case because this firearm was used in both these cases. So initially it was an operational decision which was part of our methodology. Hence then when we were reporting on the mandated group. But then as we were explaining how we are so successful, then it was then requested that we bring also those cases in our report.
Thank you. And am I correct to say that in all of these reports, you began to then report in terms of those categories? So you separated out the categories in your reports?
That is what we did throughout up until the last 27-page report of January 2025. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to just move on to the next. The resolutions here, just to for the sake of completeness, to wrap it up, are similar to the previous resolutions, which is to continue your reporting on the cases and to intensify efforts on certain cases. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so the next meeting then is 30 July 2019 at CJC 15, page 73. Were you present at this meeting?
That is correct, Commissioners.
And can you tell me whether this meeting followed the same format as the previous meetings, meaning a very detailed report by the Acting Provincial Commissioner?
Yes, indeed, it followed the same format where the National Commission on paragraph 2.2, page 73 will introduce, and then and General Connors will take the IMC through the prepared presentation, starting with the introduction, as well as the cases allocated and giving the status report on each and every one of those cases.
Thank you. If we can then, again, a very detailed record of the presentation that is included in the minutes. But let's go to page 82. There's a section that's headed Remarks by Member of IMC and Others.
Yes.
Okay, so the first bullet point, it says the meeting noted the incorporation of 78 cases which are not related to political killings. Can you just explain that bullet, please?
It is referring to the explanation that I've been giving, that these cases, because they were increasing, and then as they are reflected on each report, then the IMC was also starting to take note of them, then, because that will influence even the resources and the budget for the trustee.
And it notes that the meeting indicated the team should pursue those cases.
Yes, as I explained, that if the meeting indicated that the team should pursue these cases as if they indirectly have relation to their mandate. So it started as an operational decision, but then during this meeting, it was then accepted as an indirect mandate, although it's not talking to the mandate of political killings dockets.
Can you comment on the second remark by the IMC?
The meeting also stressed the importance of strong and better coordinated intelligence operations as the key to successful investigations and prosecution. That was the time when we had the team that was at least 98% capacitated, sufficient, and we were then able to deliver in line with the plan in terms of activities and the timelines, because we had better coordination from within the expertise. And there was also by that time now an understanding, as I explained yesterday, that when we call people up, they come in with their understanding of how things are done. So indeed, it took time for the team to gel and understand that the methodology here is in a process format. Hence, then there was this comment.
Okay. And the third bullet? Can you comment on the third bullet?
The involvement of private security firms or is concerning, and the meeting indicated that the team should work with private security industry regulation authority to do the inspections on compliance. The team had adopted a concept of compliance inspections, because we had since realized that the firearms that are normally used are belonging to the private security companies as well as municipalities. That is why we were struggling then to get the firearm that will link with a political killing case. Then we started the compliance inspection. The criteria will be, when we identify the hit orderer, then we will profile the hit orderer until we get to I must choose the word now, an associate who is having a private security company owning firearms. That is when then we'll go for compliance inspections. And in most of the compliance inspections that we conducted, we will find that the caliber, because you will first profile the security company to identify and understand the firearms that the company is owning. Then when you go for compliance inspection, your focus is on a caliber that is fitting the one firearm that you are looking for. So when you get there, in most cases, the firearm that you are looking for is reported stolen 2 weeks ago. So that was an indication then for us to say we need to widen the scope and we have another example in the municipalities. One of the municipality who were looking for the firearm that was used in killing the councillor. On records, that firearm then was found to have been booked to a particular security security guard who's employed by the municipality. We did find that firearm from that security guard, but we found it was sliced like a bread, so as then it cannot be used for ballistic purposes. But we did find the firearm. So this was during the time when we were realizing that the struggle for us to find the firearms that are used is because there are most of them within the private security companies and municipalities.
Nevertheless, the meeting noted the progress made on on recovering firearms. And if you could just read the fourth bullet.
More especially the increase of the firearms, the number to 181, it was mainly because of that compliance inspection, because we will find a lot of unlicensed firearms within private security companies and municipalities.
So it was 181 firearms, ammunition, and magazines recovered.
Yes.
And that was since, it says the re-establishment
Yes,
of the task team, not the establishment. So,
since July 2018.
so that's July 2018. Okay, and then again, request for more progress reports. And what we see after this is that there are no minutes for the years 2020 and 2021. Can you explain that?
Yes, Commissioners, as we are all aware, those years were years when we had a problem of COVID. So the meeting Yeah, that's correct, Commissioners.
It's dated 2 February 2022. Were you present at this meeting?
Yes, I was present, Commissioner.
And again, we see the similar format, a very detailed briefing. And this briefing was by the acting provincial commissioner again, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
If we can just go then to the resolutions, which is on page 96. There are 5 resolutions, 5 bullet points. Can you explain the first bullet point?
Thank you, Commissioners. The resolutions, in most cases, the resolutions will be linked with the challenges that will be brought to the attention of the IMC by the team. So the first one that talks to the must be specialized or dedicated court for political related cases. That was during the time when we were experiencing delays at court. We had so many trial-ready cases, but now because they were competing on the court roll with other local cases, looking at the task team being time-bound and being a project. Then there was that request or recommendation that the dedicated court be provided, of which then the ministry had identified that Saudi court case that after threat and risk assessment and other processes, mainly because of the conditions of the cells in that court, then the interdepartmental, especially the provincial steering committee, decided against the use of the court. Then the next one talks to the dedicated prosecution team at lower courts to deal with firearm-related cases. The main problem there was, as the team will register a case of possession of unlicensed firearm, and the dedicated team of prosecutors are dealing with politically related, more especially if the firearm is not linked with the case. Now, those cases were also suffering a lot, and then the team thought that maybe they must also put up that request for their cases that are at lower courts to have the dedicated prosecution team.
And did that happen?
Unfortunately, it did not happen, commissioners.
Okay, if you can just then finish with reference to the third bullet point on these minutes.
The Department of Correctional Services should improve on security, especially unlawful access to cell phones by inmates, and report in the next meeting. This has been an ongoing problem up to date, but it was something that was also brought up by the task team for the IMC to assist on. There were lots of proposals that were put on, but were not implemented. That is why we still have the same problem. And it's one of the reasons why the request that was approved and the recommendation to use Kokstad prison, because communication within that prison is impossible.
So that concludes those minutes. The next set of minutes is CJC 17, and that meeting took place on 5 September 2023. Were you present at this meeting, General Khumalo?
Yes, commissioners.
Now, this meeting, again, followed the similar format to the previous meetings, except that the report of the work of the PKTT was presented by you and not the provincial commissioner. Is that correct? Page 100.
Yes, that is correct.
And again, as with the previous reports, it's a very detailed briefing, and it goes on for quite a number of pages. I don't know if there's anything specific you want to highlight in relation to this meeting. If not, we'll just go to the end of the minutes.
There is nothing more than to flag that on this report we had included a threat and risk assessment, because it was built up to the upcoming local government elections.
So can we then go to page 123? And you'll see this is a section dealing with remarks by other members present in the meeting.
Yes.
There are a number of comments here. Are there any, there's some that are notable. Some of the issues that are addressed here are issues that seem to recur. The importance of dedicated courts, for example. But we also see that the Deputy Minister indicated that he agrees with the recommendations of the task team and that the team should be enhanced. What did that mean, that the team should be enhanced?
It was referring to the increasing workload, and also in preparation for the upcoming local government elections. Hence, then, after the TRA was presented, that formed part of the remarks and resolutions by the IMC.
Okay, so it was linked to the threat and risk assessment and then the upcoming elections,
Yeah.
the need for enhancement. So then there's a bullet that says some members have been taken back to their original station. Why is that?
It was one of the challenges that we were starting to experience, where some environments will then want their members then to return for various reasons, which was then identified as one, it was affecting our capacity, looking at the work that we had on hand, but also it was affecting our turnaround time, because now as you receive a new person who's not familiar with the methodology, it will take some time for that person to gel in. But that was basically what we're experiencing. Maybe to add, there is a point above that talks to the minister indicating that the task team is also now involved in the investigation of Fort Hare University cases. That was after the extension of the mandate. Now, that also affected our capacity because we had to move then other members of the team to relocate to the Eastern Cape. That was one of the reasons why then the capacity was a problem.
Thank you. I note that 2 bullets from the bottom that the Minister Lamola commended the work of the task team. And then on the next page, page 124, we have the resolutions. And can you read out the last 2 bullet points?
The last 2 bullet points of the recommendations, first one being the success of the task team should be communicated to the nation via press briefing. The second one, the task team cannot be dissolved. It must continue.
And that is the end of the minutes of the meeting for September 2023. Was there any other IMC meeting after that? Maybe we don't have minutes.
There were no other IMCs because this one was the last IMC towards elections. Hence, then it had also a recommendation or a threat and risk assessment and a recommendation of enhancing it, and also the decision not to dissolve it. I should think that maybe in line with the change of administration, this is the last decision taken by this IMC that it should not be dissolved. So as the next IMC, when it comes in, it continues this good work that this current IMC have seen.
So I have a question about that, because if the meeting takes this resolution that it must not be dissolved, is it because there were discussions before that contemplating that the PKTT should be disbanded?
Not as far as I understand it. It can only be that in our reports, we will also look at the timeline. If it's towards the end of the financial year, then the Provincial Steering Committee, the National Steering Committee, and the IMC will have that as a point of discussion and a resolution to take at all levels. So as then, when the new financial year starts, the team knows that they have to prepare for the extension.
Okay. So, in addition to this regular meetings or this oversight by the IMC, there were also monitoring by the Provincial Steering Committee and the National Steering Committee.
Yes.
And by this point in time, then September 2023, were you informed of concerns? I just want to confirm that this is what you're saying. Maybe put it differently. You were not informed of concerns of the work of the PKTT and the need to close it.
No, I was not informed of any concerns or complaints. I was only aware of the commendations of the good work by the team, because there is the last unminuted meeting where the team had to brief the president himself on the progress. That was then the last meeting before elections.
So, as far as you were aware, the task team was conducting itself in a manner that, there were no concerns that were raised with you as far as its performance goes. And as far as the monitoring goes, was that monitoring of the work and the achievement of your objectives, as well as your finances? Was there monitoring over your budget?
Yes, that was done simultaneously at all levels, from the Provincial Steering Committee up to IMC. But then the financials were monitored at national level by the CFO.
By the CFO at national level?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll return then to the 31st December letter.
Before you do that, General, you have a meeting. The last meeting is in 2023 September, and the meeting before that is in February 2022, and your explanation for the gap from 2019 to 2022 is the COVID intervention. Now, the next meeting is then in 2022, and then more than a year later, September 2023, it seems that's when you have your next meeting. Yeah. If that is correct, why is that so? Why was there such a long gap?
Thank you, Commissioner. As although it's not my meeting, because it's the IMC and we were not in control of their calendar. So, at tactical level, as per the plan, the meetings were taking place every day, accounting meetings. And then same applies to Majok level, Provincial Steering Committee. There was then I won't say a problem, but the regular meetings at National Steering Committee as well as IMC between 22, after COVID, between 22 and 23, they were not as regular as they were. One then can maybe, because their main role was to monitor and evaluate and assess that the team is performing. One will say maybe they did not see the need to meet as regular as before, because they had since assessed the situation and confirmed that indeed the performance is as they are expecting.
Thank you for that explanation. And then secondly, the team is constituted for the first time in 2018, right?
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that the chronology, as I understand it, is correct. And then in 2018, where you started, you've given a list of the different ministers who were involved. in their department. So, for example, and maybe let's just start there. I won't take you through each one of them. I'll just hop along as we go on. So you had Minister Cele there as the Minister of Police. You had Minister Mapisa Ngakula, Minister Masuta, and Minister Letsatsi Duba. And then you had the Premier Mkunu and MEC Kaunda. That is in 2018 when you have your first meeting. And then you have your second meeting, it's CJC 11 at page 19. You have the same people. If you look at that page 19, you have Minister Cele, Minister Letsatsi Duba, and then you have Premier Mkunu, and then in apologies, you have Minister Letsatsi Duba somehow. But it's all the same names. You have Mkunu and you have Kaunda. It's all the same names. And that's in 2018 still. And then in 2019, if you would just go to, just hold on for me. If you would just go to CJC 14, which starts at page 59, that you continue there, the same ministers. But then at some point, this is 2019, and then at some point, there's a change of ministers. And that's the point that I just want to make sure I get right. This is now in 2019, July at page 73, CJC 15. You still have Minister Cele, and then you have under apologies, Minister Mapisa Ngakula, still defense, and then now you have a different minister, Minister Lamola for justice, and then you have for the first time Deputy Minister Makwetla for defense and military veterans, and then Deputy Minister Kodwa. Makwetla is deputy as well, and then you have Deputy Minister Kodwa as Deputy Minister of State Security. And then MEC Kaunda, you see where I'm reading. It's at page 74. Yes. That's in 2019. I just, and perhaps Ms. Hassam can assist. I'm just trying to locate when we have elections where there's change of leadership. 20? Yes, I'm told that in 2019, that's when we had the next election.
National elections, yeah.
Yes, now we have a new minister, Lamola for justice. We have a new administration, basically. Yeah. And the ministerial committee continues to exist. Was there ever a break about it that a new ministerial committee still has to be constituted after that election in 2019?
Thanks, Commissioner. There's never been a break. The IMC has been continuing with its meetings since the establishment. The elections came, and then the political leadership will change, but the ministries will continue. That's why we will see the new names of the ministers coming on board after elections.
Yes. And you see that in 2022 as well at page 84. This is your February meeting, and then if you turn to 85, you now have Premier Zikalala as a premier, and then you have Deputy Minister Matale, and under apologies, you now have Minister of Defense Modise and Lamola. So the departments continue and ministries continue to be represented, even though there was a change of administration and ministers.
That is correct, Commissioner. Even at provincial level, the first premier who started with the initial was Premier Mkunu. Then as we move on, Premier Zikalala, because of elections again. So the political figures will change, but the ministries
Yes.
will remain within the IMC.
Thank you. Thank you, General. Thanks, Ms. Hassan.
Thank you, Commissioners. General Khumalo, the National Steering Committee, did the members of the National Steering Committee change over time?
Yes, Commissioners, as it was the case with IMC, also within the steering committees, there will be those changes. If we recall, at the beginning of the task team reconfigured 2018, the Deputy National Commissioner was General Zumane, who retired after some few years, and then Lieutenant General Msigidi was appointed the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, and then she continued serving in the steering committee, National Steering Committee. So it was the case at all levels.
Thank you. We were dealing with Part C, so of your statement, and Part C of your statement deals with the disestablishment of the task team. And we began with the letter of 31 December. Can we now move to paragraph 135? You've explained to some extent that you had not been informed about the concerns about the PKTT before the 31st of December. And you were also not consulted about any decision to disband before the 31st of December. You received the letter. No, did you receive the letter? When did you become aware of it? We've dealt with the contents, but when did it actually come to your attention?
Perhaps before the General deals with it, and please hold your thought on that. General, I just want to ask you a couple of questions relating to how matters ought to have unfolded. I'm not suggesting that they did not unfold the way they should have. In your experience, could Minister Mchunu have been in a position to take the disbandment decision without being briefed?
Thank you, Commissioner. Based on my experience since 2018 as to how the processes and the project itself has been managed, as I explained, how it came about in 2018, and then also the impact or the effect of either or especially of elections. One will say because after the last IMC of 2023 that took a decision that the task team should not be disbanded, it was also meaning that the IMC will continue overseeing even after elections. So my response will be, according to my view, it was not supposed to be like that.
And again, in your experience, who ought to have briefed Minister Mchunu?
There was a standing procedure of chairperson of briefing the principals. Maybe if I may answer that, starting with the last briefing on the last administration that was given to the IMC in 2023, and then few months before elections to the president. So one would have thought that with the new administration coming in, and then there will be the either reactivation or continuation of the IMC like it happened in 2019, and then we brief the new ministries the way we have been doing. But coming closer home within SAPS, because PKTT was and still one of the projects, important projects of the department now. So it was also supposed to be part of the important briefings by SAPS management to the minister.
And who would those managers be? You say management.
Looking at the minutes as we have been going through, that will be
I'm focusing within SAPS now.
Yeah,
let us forget
yes.
for a minute about the IMC.
Yes, Chairperson. Looking at the minutes, as I'm saying, all the briefings will start with myself preparing the briefing note as the project manager. But then that would have been informed by either the provincial steering committee chairperson, who will say, I have a request to brief the new minister, or the national steering committee chairperson, the national commissioner, who will say, I have this request or I've initiated. So I'll prepare the presentation, but I will be the one doing the briefing itself to the minister.
Perhaps let me invert my question and ask this. If it was the minister's idea, as indeed it was here, to disband the PKTT, who should the minister have consulted or sought a briefing from? So that is now, because you are telling me about a situation where you would be the initiator in terms of briefing, which briefing would then go upwards. Now I'm saying, if the minister, as it indeed happened, wanted to disband the PKTT, who did he have to consult? Who must he have consulted?
Thank you, Commissioner. According to my understanding and my view, it first needed the minister to have the understanding of the background, which will then automatically say, let me go to the ministries that have been busy with this up until 2023, before elections. And then now we are new political figures in these ministries. Then according to me, that was supposed to be the first stop in terms of consultation. Of course, then looking at the background, of course, then with also, or in consultation with the president, and thereafter the message then will go down as it happened when it was established.
On the information that you must have received by now, did the minister take any of the steps that you are referring to? Did the minister make contact with any of the members of the IMC? Did the minister consult the top management of the SAPS, which I assume would obviously include the National Commissioner, and perhaps even you as the project manager? Did the minister do any of those?
Thank you, Commissioner. Based on the information that I've received up until now, the minister did not consult any of the incumbents of the ministries that are making up the IMC. And also to add, even the information also received up until now, even the current deputy ministers were not consulted, of which then with the previous IMC, by then we had one deputy minister of police who was now and again in attendance on some of the IMCs. So at that level, I will say, based on the information that I've received up to now, there was no consultation at that level. And then on the second level below, I will confirm that we have never been given an opportunity to brief or also to be consulted before the decision was taken.
The minister knows best why he did not do any of that, if, as you say, he indeed did not do it. But I will still ask you this. Do you know why the minister did not do any of these?
I will not definitely know as to why that consultation did not happen, Commissioner. But according to my view, that I will hold on to it up until I'm given the real reason. I will hold on to the view of what was happening during December, the busiest month of them all in terms of PKTT, their support and assistance to the GCI ops. All that can be supported by our operation that took place on the 14th of May, when we had to analyze the communication, which was starting to give us more supportive information as to why we say the reason was because of the activities of December. I pointed towards the format of the letter. According to me, it's my view again, it was not a letter that was given the attention that it deserves, that needs to be crafted such that. So it talks to the letter that had to be speedily finalized, and now looking at the happenings of December, I will stick to my view up until I get the official reasons for not consultation and for disbanding.
Lastly, do you not find it strange that on something so important, with as much history as it had, that what the minister says is so terse or so brief and without much substantiation? Do you not find that strange? I'm referring to page 204 paragraph 3 of the letter, and that's annexure SDK 24. Do you not find that strange?
Indeed, Chairperson, I find it very strange, hence my comments that my assessment of the letter is a letter that had to be fast-tracked, not really having the strategic view of the issues that are raised, because there are areas that are supposed to be detailed. And excuse me. So those details will only be informed by the briefings that are received prior to the crafting of the letter. And also the other reason that one can put forward is it's something that we are still going to touch on my further evidence. When then we got an opportunity to give a very detailed briefing in the form of a report, a 27-page report, that is almost giving my whole evidence in this commission in terms of the background, all the steps, what has been happening from the legal framework, the legality of the team, to the oversight activities. So the report is containing everything, but that report was submitted on the 22nd of January. It's not back and signed with any comments up to date. So that I can use it as another reason why one will hold the view that the mission was to disband in December before I'm briefed. Even if I'm briefed afterwards, I don't show any interest. That is my interpretation.
Thank you, General. I hope you still remember your question, Ms. Hassim.
Thank you, Chair. Yes,
Advocate
I do.
Hassim, before you continue, it's not a question, just to confirm for the record. Because there are two deputy ministers of police, the deputy minister, I believe General was referring to, is Deputy Minister Matale. And we see that in the IMC minutes of 2 February 2022, CJ 16, he was in attendance. And the last IMC of 5 September 2023, CJC 17, he was in attendance. Just so that there's no confusion when we read the transcript later.
That is correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Ms. Hassim, if I may, it's a follow-up on the chairperson's discussion with the General. General, we looked at that minute of September 2023, and you read into the record under resolutions that last bullet point at page 124, and I'll read it to you. It says the task team cannot be dissolved. It cannot be dissolved. It must continue. You read that as one of the resolutions. Why would such a resolution have been passed? And specifically, my question is, was there, before this resolution was passed or in that meeting, was there ever discussion about the task team being dissolved?
Thank you, Commissioner. The report, especially at the end of the financial year of government, will have a TRA and a recommendation from operational level, and then which will then be endorsed by the Provincial Steering Committee as well as the National Steering Committee. So at IMC, it will go as a resolution that has been taken at operational level, because the operational level is at Directors General level, those that are financing and resourcing the team. So my understanding, the resolution was informed by the end of the term of the current IMC representatives, that it was the last one before the elections. So that is my understanding, but I can only talk to at the lower level, which is the process that was happening annually, so as then it can inform their decisions as directors generals.
Thank you for that. If you go back one page, and I must apologize, Ms. Asima had meant to get clarification on this, and I realize now. If you go back one page, 123 to 123, and then the fourth bullet point from the bottom. 123, and then the fourth bullet point, it says from the bottom, sorry. It says some members have been taken back to their original station. Can you see where I'm reading? Page 123. And the heading is remarks by other members present in the meeting.
Yes, Commissioner.
You see that? And then if you start from the top, it's bullet point 6. If you start from the top.
Yes, Commissioner.
And it says some members have been taken back to their original stations. Can you just explain what was going on there? Because on the face of it, it may feed into the idea that the team already was being dismantled at this point.
Yes, Commissioner. There was a period where we had a problem where different environments or units wanted their members back for various reasons. So we raised it as a concern as we were reporting at all levels that is affecting the performance of the team. Sometimes the unit commander will say, I need this member back, I'll replace this member with this one, which was then, as I've said, was taking us backwards, because now you have to start a 2-year training on a new person that is new. But sometimes also it was not with replacements. But the issue of it being clear was the extension of the mandate that was like affecting the capacity, as I've made an example of the Fort Hare deployment, where we had to take about 15 to 16 members now to be on that side.
Lastly, General, between the September 23 resolution and this letter in the busy month of December, the 31st of December letter, in that intervening period, was there ever discussion within the SAPS management or between the SAPS management and the previous minister, Cele, about dissolving the PKTT? Was there ever such formal discussions?
No, there's never been any discussion during the time of the former minister, Cele, between that period.
Thank you. Thank you, General. Thanks, Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Commissioner Beloya. If I can just follow up on your trend of questions with one more to confirm this. While there was not that discussion on dissolving, is it correct understanding that every year there was a discussion on whether to extend the life of the team? So it's another way of the flip side of the question is, while there wasn't a discussion on dissolution, every year there was a discussion on extension. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioners, but that discussion will be at a national commissioners level, or I will say at national steering committee level. I've said the reason is, as the financial year is coming to an end, the directors general must plan for the new year. So it will be, because each and every department that is part of this interdepartmental was and is carrying the cost by itself. So that's why there will be that discussion. They will mainly request for the threat and risk assessment, the progress made, and then a detailed report, so as then they are able to take that informed decision at their level.
Okay, thank you. But so it wasn't a discussion with the at ministerial level?
No.
In fact, in bullet point 4 on the same page, the recommendation was the enhancement rather than the winding down of the task team, as I understand it, on page 123. And that was supported by Deputy Minister Matale. Bullet point 4.
Yes, I'm there, Commissioner. That is correct. So hence, in my response from the chairperson's question, I had said, if the process that led to the disbandment letter had followed the normal process, it was not supposed to be that difficult, because the Deputy Minister of Police, who is still the second Deputy Minister of Police, was in the last IMC present and these resolutions taken. So if then there was consultation, I am made to believe that he was going to refer to the minutes of the meeting that he had attended, so as he can be able to brief the new minister accordingly in terms of the resolutions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure, okay. I'm struggling to get movement with this. This day, I'm still on the same paragraph. And I'm not even going to get there yet, because I have another question, which is, you were not informed, you said, about the concerns. You were not consulted about the decision before the letter of 31 December. Despite the fact that you are the project manager of the PKTT. Were you, once the decision was made and this letter was prepared, was the letter then forwarded to you, seeing as it affects you? At least two of the paragraphs affect you, because the first is on the freezing of posts within crime intelligence, and then the third is the PKTT disbandment. So when did you become aware of the letter formally? I know you said you saw it on social media, but was it sent to you formally in your capacity as Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence?
Thank you, Commissioners. The only time the letter was shared with me officially was on the 14th of January, which is like 2 weeks after it has been out, when the National Commissioner came back from leave and then called me in for the discussion of this letter, and then he handed over the file with the letter. So that was the first time, I will say, I confirmed that it's not fake news. It's indeed an official communication between the minister and the National Commission. That was the 14th of January.
That was the first time the letter itself was
Yes.
formally provided to you.
Yes.
So let's go back then to your statement, because your involvement in the beginning of the notification to you, as I understand it, is on the 7th of January. And if we can start there with SDK 23. And this is an email that's sent to you on the 7th of January 2025. Can you explain what this email is saying to you?
Let me go there. Let's see.
It's page 201. Is it not in your bundle?
It's an empty page.
Missing page. Okay, we have two options. One is you could look at the screen, if you're able to see the screen, and while we locate a replacement for you, because it's just one page that we need to provide you with.
Yeah. Yes, that is correct, Commissioners. On Tuesday, the 7th of January, I received the email from a Colonel Afnand from the Office of the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection, that had the heading, Deactivation of the Political Killings Task Team. So looking at the heading, I associated the heading with one of the points that I've seen on the letter that is on the social media. Then the message was the DNC Crime Detection has directed the trailing email be forwarded for your attention and the closing report for sign off by the 13th of January. That is the email as received, and it had no attachment. It was just this email that officially I could not understand it. Hence, there was no further action to it because it is just having that one line without any attachment for me to have a proper understanding of the background of the directive.
And if we could just scroll down, please. Right. So what was being forwarded to you was an email that was sent to the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection.
Yes.
Is that right?
That is correct.
And can you just read the last paragraph of that email?
Your office, which is the office now of the Deputy National Commissioner, is further requested to submit a close-up report to be submitted on the 14th of January 2025 for NATCOM's, which is the short word of National Commissioner's consideration and sign off to the Minister.
Okay, so this email was forwarded to you, and the request was for you to prepare a closing report for sign-off by 13 January.
That is correct.
And did you have any communication at this point in time with the National Commissioner about a closing report?
Yes, in fact, I did have the communication even before the 7th, as I've indicated that from the 1st, when this letter was trending, I was receiving lots of questions and calls from the team members, from the stakeholders and PA, from correctional services, from everybody. And I could not answer them. Hence, then I had made a call to the National Commissioner whilst he was on leave to help me with the information so as I'm able to respond. Then I got the response that he is also in the dark. The best thing is just wait until I come back. That is exactly what I did. I disowned the letter from the 1st when it started trending up until the 14th when I received it officially, and we had an opportunity now to discuss and try to understand it with the National Commission.
And did you raise your concerns with the National Commissioner at that point in time?
Indeed, my first call was a complaint to say I'm receiving lots of calls and I do not know what to tell people from the task team members to the stakeholders. Now help me, what must I say? And the advice was tell them as I'm telling you that we do not know what's happening. We are still going to try and clarify the issues and then we'll come back to them.
So when you get this email from General Sibia's office saying that you need to prepare a closing report by 13 January, what did you do? Did you begin to prepare the report or did you do nothing?
I did not do anything, commissioners, because as I've indicated, there was no attachment. I did not want to legitimize and think that the letter that is trending, this email is referring to it. For one main reason, the heading of the email is talking to one subject matter amongst the 3 subject matters that are in the letter that is trending. That was the first reading, the first reason. But secondly, without the attachment itself, it was not easy to understand the directive from the Deputy National Commissioner because it's one line. Then for me to be able to understand this one line, there must be this attachment that I must go through and understand. So hence then my decision not to do anything, instead to wait for the National Commissioner to come back from leave as per our agreement.
So then if we go to paragraph 138 of your statement.
Before you do that, General, this at 2:01, these emails, the bottom email of the 3rd of January from Brigadier Lutoko. Now we know from the National Commissioner's evidence that on the 3rd of January he was on leave, and you have confirmed that. That's correct.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Right. Who was the acting National Commissioner at this point?
The appointed acting National Commissioner was Lieutenant General Musigidi.
It wasn't General Sibia.
No, it was not General.
Okay. And then in that email of the 3rd, it's addressed to, and you do mention in your statement at paragraph 135, the email is addressed to Captain Keketsi Sibongile and Mabula TR, and then copied to General Sibia and General Sibula. Where in terms of office does Captain Keketsi sit? In whose office?
Captain Keketsi is in the office of the Deputy National Commissioner at Crime Detection, Lieutenant General CB.
And Mabula TR, do you know?
I won't know, commissioners.
And then Sibula FM? General Sibula?
Sibula FM is in the office of the National Commissioner. She is the executive manager.
Yes. And then in the email to you, which is the email of the 7th of January, it is addressed to you, and then it's addressed to you and to Captain Sibongile. And it doesn't appear that anyone from the Office of the National Commissioner is copied on that email. Am I correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Balois. So, let's go to the 14th of January. This is when the National Commissioner returns from leave. And can you just tell the Commissioner about the discussion you had with the National Commissioner on that day?
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm not going to repeat what I had explained because the understanding and the confusion that one had when the letter was still unofficially trending continued even during this meeting, because both of us, we could not really understand the letter itself as to what might be informing these directives. But when it comes to the timelines that were on point number 3, there was also a long discussion between myself and the National Commissioner as to what is the meaning of a preliminary report that is required on the 20th. Because now that discussion came after the National Commissioner had said, go and prepare the preliminary report. I said, but when I read, I don't understand as to what is the preliminary report. So I want the understanding, so as whatever that I go and draft, it's what is required on the 20th. Is the preliminary report that talks to how are you going to disband, or is the preliminary report that talks to how this task team came about, or the progress report, or what is happening? So we had a long discussion. Hence, then the preliminary report that was submitted ended up having both. So as at least if you are wrong, but we have given, because the first part of the 27-page report is giving a detailed briefing that has never happened before of the task team, the performance, the challenges, and other issues that one felt that maybe the minister is in that report. We are addressing even the issues that were on the media space around the political killing task team. So because of the confusion and lack of understanding, we ended up compiling the mother of all preliminary report that will cover everything. And then at the end, then it talks to what the National Commissioner also understood to be, might be the preliminary report in terms of disbandment process.
You say, General, it was a two-part report. The first part, where I think you were justifying to the minister why the PKTT existed. How did you conclude that part? We went through that report, I think, when General Masemula was testifying, but I do not think that we focused on what you have just mentioned now, which is that the report was a two-part report. So how did you conclude on the first part?
The reason why we ended up agreeing to have a report in that format, we had a long discussion on what
General.
informed.
So I'm very sorry, General. I'm not asking why you decided to have a two-part report.
Yeah.
I'm asking what, in the end, you said in that report with regard to or in relation to the first part. Did you conclude that the PKTT, therefore, ought not to be disbanded? That's what I want to hear you on.
Thank you, Commissioner. If I understand the question very well, if one try to summarize the last part of the report.
The last part of the first part. Did I understand you to say that? Did I understand you to say that your report was in two parts? Did I understand you correctly?
Yes, sir.
The first part explaining why the PKTT existed. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes. So what I'm asking you is, let's just focus on that part, the first part. What was your conclusion, if any, on the first part? Did you reach a conclusion at all? Perhaps a conclusion that said, Minister, the PKTT ought not to be disbanded because of all the reasons that we give above? Or did you not conclude specifically on the first part or with regard to the first part?
When it comes to the discussion, we concluded that the task team ought not to be disbanded, but one then has to refer to the report itself and confirm. But at no stage where there was an agreement between the two of us in that discussion that the team needs to be disbanded.
Thank you. Thank you, General. I see that it's 3 minutes past 1. Let us adjourn and resume at 5 past 2. Let's adjourn.
Thank you,